My name is Tom Cusack, and I'm a Columban missionary priest. My father was born in the parish of Kilballyone in County Clare, in that little peninsula jutting out into the Atlantic. The oldest member of the family was Michael. He became a teacher in Liscannor in the north of Clare. And one of his sons, same name as my own, Tom Cusack. He was born, I think, around 19, well, I've forgotten the exact date, but he went into the seminary, joined the Columban Fathers, and he was ordained to the priesthood on the 21st of December 1934. After his ordination to the priesthood, he was sent to Korea, and he worked in the southern part of Korea in the diocese of Gwangju. He was a very, very strong person. I believe when he was in the seminary, his appendix burst and peritonitis set in, and he actually survived it. A surgeon came out from Galway and operated on him and saved his life. And I just mentioned that just to get some idea of the very fine physical, strong constitution that he had, which he certainly needed for his life in Korea. So he was in Korea there, and then he was all through the Japanese occupation. So the first time that he got home to Ireland after having gone to Korea in 1934 was in 1947. And those years in Korea, they were very hard. They didn't have any of the comfort, and then the Japanese occupation and so on. And he was given a vacation of 14 months. And my family, we were singularly blessed because he spent a whole month with us. Now, I was a young lad of about 14 at the time, and of course I'd known many priests, but never known them at the human level. So he was the first priest who came to live with us, and he was just a joy. First of all, he was totally human. Great fun, able to relate with us children very, very beautifully. I used to serve his Mass every morning, and even as a young boy, I was aware of the fact of the reverence with which he celebrated Mass. Often saw him reading his office. He joined in with us in the family rosary. And one of the things I can also remember about him was he would go to various mission exhibits, and he would come back and he would have rosary beads and vestments. And then I would see him at a table, and I would be there with him, and he'd be writing down the names of various people in his parish and putting a rosary beads in the envelope for them and so on. Small little things. But what came across to me was his total commitment to the people he served as a priest in that corner of the Lord's Vineyard. He told us wonderful stories about the Korean people that he served. And what has always remained with me was not so much the content of the stories, but his own deep commitment, as the Good Shepherd. We all fell in love with him in the most beautiful sense of the word. And then he went back to Korea, and he was the parish priest of Mokpo down in the diocese of Gwangju. When the communists came across the 38th parallel from North Korea and invaded the south. And a story I've heard, or maybe even read about it, was that an officer in the American Army came to my first cousin, Fr Tom, and offered to evacuate him with the other Columban priests. And that Fr Tom felt that he couldn't do an awful lot for the people, but that if he was there with them, that he might be able to make life a little miserable. And he probably thought about the Good Shepherd doesn't leave his flock untended. And the bottom line was he stayed with the people. Communists came, they captured him, and they began one of these awful death marches up towards North Korea. And his body was never found, but he was martyred for the Catholic faith and staying with these people in a place that's commonly referred to, I think, as the Taegu massacre. When we heard about it, we were literally brokenhearted, all of us. And then as time and healing went on, we became very, very proud, in the good sense of the word, that we had a member of our family who was literally a martyr for the Catholic faith. And it's also interesting to note that on the 29th of June, the year 2000, in the Colosseum in Rome, where there were so many martyrs for the faith, there was a book of martyrs presented to the Holy Father Pope John Paul II, and I've never seen the book, but I've been told that Father Tom's name was in there among the martyrs. And incidentally, I've also read in that connection that there have been more martyrs for the faith in the 20th century than there were in all previous centuries before. He was a good deal older than me because I was born in 1933, he was ordained in 1934. But when I came to discern my own vocation, I had already graduated from University College Dublin, so I had a little bit of more maturity probably than just going in from leaving cert. And it was two steps in it for me. First of all, was the Lord calling me to be a priest. And I had a very good spiritual director, and he helped me with that. And I came to the conclusion that's what God wanted me to do with my life and whatever talent he had given to me. And then the next question was, well, where would I be, a diocesan priest or what? I didn't even have to think about it. I automatically thought of becoming a Columban. And it just came as if I was led by the hand into that. And thank God it's a decision that I've never regretted even for 5 minutes. So that's the influence of Father Tom in my life and in the life of my family, and we always still talk about him. Then a couple of years ago, if he had lived, it would have been his 100th birthday. And so we had a big celebration down in Liscannor in County Clare, organised by my first cousin, Stephanie McNamara, who was Father Tom's niece. And she brought all of us together in the form of a family reunion. And we began by celebrating, because just to remind you that Father Tom's father, Michael, my uncle, he was the teacher there in Liscannor. So we celebrated Mass in the church where Father Tom was baptized into Christ, and where he himself celebrated his first Mass on the 22nd of December 1934. So that was a wonderful, faith-filled experience for me, not only in recollecting the role and the power and the influence of Tom in my life, but also in meeting so many of my cousins and relatives that I hadn't met for many, many years. It was just a wonderful experience. Then in 2004, I think it was, a classmate of mine, Father John Hogan, who had spent most of his life in Korea and knew the language very well. I was never missioned in Korea, I was only in the Philippines and in the United States. But John Hogan, the church in Korea has literally blossomed and bloomed and grown, and I hope this wouldn't be offensive, but as I see it, maybe superficially, but I think that we Columbans, thank God, that we're more or less obsolete there now. And Father John Hogan was one of those priests who saw that and stepped aside and wanted to spend his life where he was needed more, so he came to the United States and he worked formed a Korean parish and ministered to the Koreans. Well, in 2004, I'd never been to Korea, so I went out and he came with me, and he was a great blessing because he knew the language and he knew his way around. And I went down to Mokpo, where my Father Tom had been pastor. And I met so many wonderful people there who still vividly remembered him. People who had been baptized, he heard my first confession, he married us and so on. And then I also got a beautiful letter from the present Archbishop of Gwangju, because that Archbishop was baptized by Father Tom. And he sent me, when the Bishop wrote to me this beautiful letter, he said, you know, the wonderful privilege it is to be baptized and to be incorporated into the body of Christ. but to have that sacrament like conferred by a martyr for the Catholic faith was an added blessing, and that Tom is very, very much a part of his life. So when I see that I'm not, don't know that much apart from my reading about the church in Korea and speaking to Columbans, but as I said, the church has grown in leaps and bounds. It's a vibrant church, and what comes home to me is the great saying that the blood of martyrs is the seed of Christians. And I'm sure that Father Tom's blood has watered the land there and brought the faith to many, many people. So I am privileged and blessed, and on this, I'm here in Dalgan to celebrate my own golden jubilee of priesthood and to be able to make this little contribution on this very special day. So thank you very much.